welcome to my first ever book haul. I have so many books here next to me and I want to go through all the books that I bought. Recently I was traveling for a full month and I've been reading a lot this year. I got back into reading and I decided to clear out my wish list and buy all the books that I had on my wish list. There's already books on my wish list again, and just have more books at home to choose from when I want to read, because I read very quickly. I know exactly the kind of genre I'm into right now. I've always loved fantasy, but I've been really enjoying the romantasy series, although I will say not all of them are created equal. I do have my new bookshelf behind me, and as you can see, I don't have, I have quite a few books here, but I don't have this one filled up because I used to have 2 bookshelves at home in Sweden filled up with books, but I did get rid of a bunch of them. Most of them donated and gave them away to charity, and I just recently rediscovered reading because I've always been reading, but I've been reading a lot this year, and I did read the whole Sarah J Maas, and I've just been trying to discover, because I've been so into so many different genres throughout my years reading. We could definitely go into that in the video, like what I used to read, what I read now, but I just wanted to share with you what I've been enjoying as of late and what I've been buying, and hopefully, fingers crossed, my next video is going to be a September and October reading wrap up. I know I'm a little bit late, but bear with me. I'm trying to get my footing in and trying to get things sorted. This is not my main channel. I am a YouTuber, I'm a full-time YouTuber, but I do beauty. I'm wearing some makeup today. I'm going to see a friend today and she's having a dance competition, so I wanted to look a little cute, but that is always linked down below in case you're interested in makeup as well. So this is my hobby. I just do what I have time for, basically. So I am gonna do a reading wrap up because I did read 13 books in September and October. Not as much as some people, but I still think enough for me to be able to do a reading wrap up and let you know about the books that I loved and the books I definitely think that you can skip, because there was definitely some books where I'm like, why am I reading this? This is not good literature. So let me show you the books that I've bought, and then you let me know down in the comments which ones you want me to read before the end of the year, basically. I am sitting in my bedroom. Hopefully the lighting is okay. It's not looking too weird. This will get better with time, but this is where we are. The first book that I have to share with you is Fear the Flames, and I'm very excited about this one. This is Olivia Rose Darling. I will say, I think about 85% of the books in this pile is going to be books that I have gotten recommended to me from either Book Talk or Bookstagram, like Instagram, TikTok, or here on YouTube. I do follow quite a lot of people that I feel have similar taste to me or whose opinions I really do trust. Although I will say there are some really, all the pick me girls, they're in BookTube right now. It's rough out there, but this book is about almost like a heist, I think. Yeah, she's supposed to free her dragons. I try to, are you like me? I try to not know too much about a plot before I go into a book. I want to go in myself, but I will say one thing that makes me want to read a book is a good map. Oh, and like a fantasy book with a good map. You already have me. Her name is Elowen. I do love that name. So it's gonna be very interesting. This is, from what I gather, if I'm not totally mistaken, I think this one was self-published. Everybody loved it, but thought that it needed some editing, so it actually got picked up by a publisher. It's been edited and it's kind of slim right now, and supposedly this is, a lot of people saying it's a 5-star book, so I cannot wait. I honestly think that this one might be my next read, because that's why it's on top, because I'm like, I think this might be my next read, but I would love to hear, like, what books do you want me to read before the end of the year. I also got Stolen Air. The Stolen Air by Holly Black. I've heard so many people love this one. The only thing that I don't, okay, this might be a good thing or a bad thing, but sometimes when a series has too many parts, I'm just like, I don't know if I can commit to that. With that being said, when it comes to books, I don't have commitment issues. This is swivelly. I'm trying to not swivel away. I don't have commitment issues. I read, hold on to your panties, Sagan om Isfolket, all the books in a row, no books in between. I started with number 1 and I read the whole series. Hold on to your panties. It's 47 books. Yes, I read all the 47 books in an order. I did not take a break, so I do not have commitment issues. Listen, I can finish a series. I just think that this one has quite a few books. It's a runaway queen, a reluctant prince, and a quest that may destroy them both. I've heard really good things about this one. I don't know if this is young adult or if this is adult fantasy, because I know also The Cruel Prince, this is a different series I think, and I'm pretty sure I have that one here. I usually tend to buy the first book in a series and then I read that and decide if I want to continue or not. This one I heard some really good things about, but only from one person, and sometimes I love I'm not discovering anything here, but I love discovering books that at least are not overly hyped online, and this one is the Promised in Fire by Jasmine Walt. I mean, it does say that it's a New York Times bestseller, but it's not, I have not seen this overly hyped on social media. And this is a fae with impossible magic. Adara has been an outsider for as long as she can remember. Born and raised in the earth fae realm, she's a water fae who can't control her magic, making her not just useless but downright dangerous at times. Okay, one thing I really love about Sarah J. Maas is that her characters are always so flushed out, they're always so amazing, but one thing I don't like is that her characters are always incredibly overpowered. They're always like the bestest, the fastest, the strongest, the best magic, and sometimes it's just like, oh come on. And I do love a struggling main character. I don't know what that says about me, so I'm excited. And it has the dragons, so what's not to love? Same here. This also has dragons, and I've heard a lot of people say, here, if you love The Fourth Wing, you might love these two books. And I don't know if they're the same air or if it's just that they have dragons, but I tend to find out. This is a short one. This is Twilight of Embers by Tessa Hale. I don't love this cover. It's giving me the posters that I had in my room when I was 12, which was in the 90s. So I don't know, I've always wondered what it would be like to have a family. I just never expected to find it with 5 mysterious strangers who have more secrets than I could ever imagine. Okay, so she's going to university, found family, university setting, dragons. Honestly, I'm already eating this up. Should this be my next read? I could be about this. Also, I will link all of these books down in my description box. I will also put my Amazon, like the books that I've read that I actually think are like good enough at least for me to recommend if you want to get some recommendations. Now that I'm saying it, this might be my next read. Okay, hear me out. One of the books that I've read this year that have been two books that I've read this year, I should say, that have been unexpectedly so good that I'm so obsessed that every single one in my friend group has heard me say, you need to read Quicksilver, you need to read Vesseless. They're both in the list that I mentioned down below. And I heard someone, listen, one single person told me, if you love those two books, you should read this one. That's all I needed. That's all the push I needed. I bought it 10 minutes after that. This is Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. I cannot wait. I cannot. Oh, it's book 1. Oh, you know, sometimes you read a book and you're like, I love this, I can't wait for book 2, and it's like in a year and a half. I don't know if it's Boss or Ross, but let's go with Boss. Boss spent a better part of her life waiting for the chance to attend the annual market hosted by the Kenta, the very same people who exiled the Alaha to live a life over the sea. A rite of passage for all young guards. She's not sure what to expect from it, but breaking a century-long peace treaty certainly isn't on her map. Oh, I love that. That sounds like the beginning of Quicksilver, just someone who's unexpectedly thrown into something that was not what they meant in any way, shape, or form. Again, if you have not read Vesseless and Quicksilver and you love romantasy, what are you doing with your life? You put that on your reading list right now. So I cannot wait to see if I will be as encaptured by this as I was with those. Woo. I kind of like this cover as well. I don't like when there's people on the cover. I don't know. I don't. I've also heard really, oh my god, this is giving Crescent City. I've heard really good things about this one, but I don't know exactly. I think this is a little bit more gothy. This is Anathema. English is not my first language, so if I mispronounce something, listen, take it up with my boss. Carrie Lake's Anathema. There are whispers about what lurks in the witch's knell, the forest where sinners go to die. Okay. The villagers call it the Eating Woods because what's taken is never given back. Only those who've lost their senses would dare go near it. Or the Banished. Mavis Bronwick knows better than to breach the misty labyrinth of trees, but a tragic turn of events compels her beyond the archway of bones to a boundary no mortal has crossed before. One that cloak a dark and fantastical world that is as dangerous as it is alluring. Ooh! Mavis' blood is the key to breaking the spiced curse. Okay, I love this. This is also a romantasy, but I think this is supposed to be a little bit more gothy, and she is thick. She's thick. I don't mind a thick book. 678. Okay, I mean, I could kill someone with this. It's so thick. I don't mind a thick book. I really don't. Sometimes when I read a book, that's how I felt with these one, the glow, the spark, the glow, and the heat of the Everflame. Again, if you have not read those, they're so good. It's the most slow burn you ever see in a romantasy book. Such good, heavy on the fantasy, not as heavy on the romance. Reminds me a little bit more of Throne of Glass in that sense. The only difference is that the first book is actually good, and the first book in Throne of Glass, I'm sorry Sarah J Maas, but it's not a very good book. But those, when I was halfway through, and the last book is like 1,000 pages, I still wanted it to be more because it's so good. And I'm hoping I'll feel the same about this one. Okay, now we're getting into a chapter that I would like to call trophies. I've already read some of the books in this haul. I read them on my Kindle when I was traveling, because I couldn't, again, I read 13 books in 2 months and I was traveling for a full month. I can't bring that many books. So a couple of these I've already read, but I have about the copy so that I can put it in my bookshelf. A trophy. I love books. I've always loved books. So this is Fantasma by Kaylee Smith. This is not at all what I thought it was going to be. This is a gothic romance, a little fantasy inspired, but there's definitely more like demons and devils and ghosts if you're into that. Honestly, the first 2 chapters of this book, I was like, what am I reading? Because it is a little bit like, it takes place in our world, but I can't truly put my finger on when, and it's not really taking place in our world, but it actually is. So you'll know it when you read it. And it is about a sister who is trying to save her sister in this, like, it's like Hunger Games but adult, and like more devils and demons and ghosts instead of like all these like challenges and stuff, and very much adult. This is not young, not young adult, very much adult. There is a little bit of spice in this one, not as much as in the 5th book of Akatar. Okay, if you think that level of smut is okay, this is less than that. But I really like the characters, and the twist at the end of this one, actually, because I read the twist when I was in Greece with my friend Samantha March, and I read it, I was in the book, and I put it down, like, I literally opened my mouth like that, and Samantha looked at me, I'm like, I can't believe what just happened. Well, it wasn't the book, it was my Kindle. And I did not see that coming. And now looking back at it, maybe I should have, but like the twist, the ending was really good. I thought this was entertaining. I was fast paced. I love the dialogues. I love the characters. It is a little gory, but it's not scary. Even though it's like a little bit spooky Halloween-y almost. It is not scary, but it is a little gory. But I ate this up. I really had a good time. Is this a literally masterpiece? No. Is it super entertaining, and I very much like recommend it if you like what you heard? Yes, I liked it. Now we have 2 books that I bought because I really liked how they looked in the bookstore. I will take no further questions. Nobody judge me. Don't look at me with your judgy eyes. But look at how gorgeous this cover is. This is The Stars Are Dying by Chloe C. Peñaranda? I am so sorry. I think that is like a more Spanish leaning last name, and Peñaranda. I might be saying that correctly. I also might be totally butchering that one. But this says A Night Fell, a novel, and like look at this. I'm not even about the sprayed edges that much, but I was holding this and it is so pretty. Okay, my camera decided that that was definitely it. My memory card was full, but I was showing you the inside. I don't even like people, like I said, on the cover, but I still think that that looks really, really cool. And there is like gold on the inside, and there is a map in here, although I will say this is not my favorite map. I like maps to be a little bit more detailed than this if they're gonna be in. I don't think that this map is detailed enough, although I will say most of all I enjoy when fantasy, they evolve their maps over time. When the character knows more in the future, maybe in book 2 or book 3, they'll fill out even more detail on the map. That I love. That is my absolute favorite. I was talking about before the camera so rudely interrupted me, that in the Crowns of Nyqvist series, that's one of the worst maps I've ever seen in a fantasy book. It is so slim, and the things that they do visit, they never even bring up in the map, and the things that are in the map doesn't really, like, it's such a bad map. I hated that map. I thought the entire series was meh. I know people loved that duology. I thought it was meh. People were recommending it as like, oh, if you are trying to get over like ACOTAR, it is not the same feeling whatsoever. I was not super impressed by that series. We can talk about that in another, but yeah, that map was not it. This one, it says 500 years ago something changed. Everyone felt it, like the world was cracking, like something has stepped into the realm that was never supposed to be here. I think everybody knew the golden age the Star Maiden has ushered in was about to be shaken, like the stars had begun to die out. So the really pretty book together with that on the back made me think like, oh, I could be about this. And there is also a little bit more on here, but I don't want to read too much again because it seems to be a little bit more like mysterious, and I love the look of this book, and I think I'm gonna enjoy it, although I don't think that this will be the first book I read in the bunch. Same here. I saw this book and I was like, yes, yes, so cute. And this is Bloodguard by CC Robson. That's what it looks like. This is a hardcover and it has the red sprayed edges. Should we see? Oh, that is delicious. I love that. And there is some art on the inside. Let's see if there's a map. Okay, let's hope that this map is a little bit more flushed out in the when the series continues, because there's literally nothing in here. That is a very scarce one. But this one says 100 years, tens of thousands of gladiators, and today only one will rise. Everything in the kingdom of Arrow is a lie. Late of Great thought coming to this new land and volunteering to fight in the gladiator arena, vicious, bloodthirsty tournaments where only the strongest survive, would earn him enough gold to save his dying sisters. He thought there was nothing left to lose. He was wrong, and they took everything, his hope, his freedom, his very humanity. And Leith has left his battle-scarred body, fueled by rage and hardened from years of fighting for the right to live another day. Then Leith meets Maeve, an elven royal who is everything he despises, everything he should hate, until the alluring princess offers him the one thing he needs most, a chance to win the coveted title of Bloodguard and his freedom. I will eat this one up. I can tell you already. I'm very excited about this one. Here we are coming into books that I've heard talked about so much on social media that eventually I had to buy it. This is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. Is she Danish? Ooh, this map is glorious. Look at that. That's very pretty. Almost looks like a piece of a Google map. Danielle L. Jensen is the New York Times bestselling author, A Fate Inked in Blood, as well as the USA Today bestselling author of The Bridge Kingdom, Dark Shores, and Male Diction series. She lives in Calgary, Alberta. Oh, I guess not. But she could still be like, because Jensen is a very common, I mean in Sweden too, but it's a last name that's pretty common in Nordic countries, I should say. A warrior princess trained in isolation, Laura is driven by two certainties. The first is that the King Aran of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she will be the one to bring him to his knees. She infiltrates her new home and gains a deeper understanding of the war to possess the bridge. Laura begins to question whether or not she is the hero or the villain. I love stuff like this as well, where people start questioning themselves and being like, am I the good person or the bad person? Very intrigued to read this one. This book is really pretty, and I've heard really good things about this. So let me know if you've read that one, because I feel like that one is a little bit more hyped. This one, I don't know exactly. I think this was just like, if you like these books, you'll probably like this one too. You know, Amazon, they get you. This is a Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. exclusive bonus material. I actually really don't like when they do that, because I'm like, listen, if you're gonna write something, just put it in the book. And if you're not putting it in the book, just put it in your next book. I don't love that. The first in the epic fantasy romance trilogy, The Sacred Stones. Captured by the King of Darkness, she was forced to find the light within. I have no idea. What is this? Oh, it seems to be to make her out of the enemy territory, she has to navigate backstabbing royals, dark magic, and deadly beasts. It's a little bit more political then, because I actually do like that. Ooh, okay. I have no idea what this is going to be about. I don't even know what kind of category this book is, but I bought it and eventually I'll read it. Have you heard anything about this one? This I've heard so much about, but the only reason that I did not pick this one up is I hate the cover. This is A Daughter of No Worlds, and this is also Carissa Brabant. And since I didn't love the other books that I read by her, I have heard though that I think it's called Six Scorched Roses or something like that. It's like a shorter novel. I will be picking that one up because people seem to really love that. But people seem to love the series. It is about an assassin, and I think, yeah, she's alive in slavery, has taught Tisana how to survive with nothing but a sharp eye, a quick mind. Yes, and exactly. She flees, and then she is pledging herself to the Orders, an organization of magic wielders strong enough to destroy her former masters. So she is taking on an apprenticeship with what I think is going to be her love interest, which is Maxantrius Farleon, which is a ridiculous name. Like, that is some LSD drug infused like name, like that. Like, what in the actual is that name? Don't like the cover. I don't like the name of the male character or like the male love interest, so I just didn't pick this one up. But I heard so many people love this book, so I'm like, okay, I'm taking one for the team. I'm gonna read this one, and I'm gonna see if I love this more than I loved in the Axia series, because it's not that I hated it, I just thought that it was way too overhyped for what it is. Don't come for me. It's fine, it's okay, but it's just not as good. So yeah, I'm interested to read this one. Although you can tell that I bought this. I bought it because of everybody telling me that it's great, but I'm really not 100% sure that I'm gonna like love it. And here we have The Cruel Prince. Like I said, I bought the first book in this series too. Elfheim, a novel of Elfheim. Lush, dangerous, a dark jewel of a book. Okay. Jude was 7 when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live with the treacherous High Court of Fairies. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, but many of the Fae despise humans. Okay, so she's a human. She's only 17, so I am gonna go with this is young adult, especially Prince Carden, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King. Okay, so I'm guessing this is gonna be young adult romantasy, because 17 is not the age where I want to be reading any kind of smut. Please don't bring me that. So I'm thinking that this is gonna be young adult. I've heard that this one is more fantasy than romance, and I've also heard that this one has great political intrigue, and again, I eat that up. Again, here we are coming into a book that I read, and I 1,000,000% recommend. Again, the cover is not great, but don't judge this book by its cover. This is great. This is The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. This is such a nice book, and it is this. Okay, did you read this one? This one, Powerless, about the girl that has no power. This isn't a good book. I'm sorry. If you like that book, I'm sorry. That was not a good book. This is a good book. This is about a princess that has no powers in a world where you have to have magic. And it's a very interesting... She gets caught up with... She runs away from her father that is very upset that she does not have any magic. And she gets caught up in... with the rebels against her will, and that's where the story takes off basically. It is a great book. I love the characters. I loved her. She is very cool. I like the second book too. Not as good as this one, but I have read the second book too. But yeah, I very much recommend this one. If you, like me, read that one and you're like, no, this is really nice, and again, 100% recommend. This is another book that I heard a lot of people talk about on social media, and I'm like, sure, I'll get it. This is the Hunters Gambit by Cécile Pirlo, and I'm excited to see Locked in a castle with a clan of devious vampires, one woman caught in a literal fight for her life. Okay, vampires. I don't love vampires as much as I used to. We all had that Twilight thing going on. Vampires have always fascinated Kazan Korvich so much that she made it her life's work to craft weapons designed solely to kill them. But when she is attacked and captured by an entire clan, Kazan's fascination turns ferocious. In the Citadel, Kazan is forced to attend the vampire court where she must act as their queen. Oh! This is interesting. A tale of seduction, sadism, and survival. Huh. Did you read it? Should this be the first book I read? Listen, I'm open for suggestions. This is Raven Kennedy's Guild, and this is the Plated Prison series. I've heard a lot of people love this one. Again, this is definitely social media that has influenced me. I think this is a reimagination of King Midas, but King Midas is the bad guy and he's holding this woman prisoner, and somehow she escapes and the story takes from there basically. And I'm very, yeah, a gilded cage is still a prison. So King Midas, well, I don't know what he's called in this, but it's basically everything King Midas touches turns to gold, and he gilds her and keeps her in a cage, and then she somehow escapes. And I haven't read the book. I don't want to give spoilers, and I try to watch only like TikTokers or YouTubers that give, I don't mind a mild spoiler where it's like if you haven't read the book you won't get it, but I don't want to get like, I don't want people to tell me the whole thing that's happening. If it's happening like 50% into the book, don't tell me. I don't want to know, and I'm definitely not going to be that channel either. But I'm very excited to read this one. I've heard some good things about this one. A lot of people are recommending this. This is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I heard someone recommend this one. This is by the same author that wrote Caraval, and I haven't read that, but I've heard a lot of people really like this one, and I saw this one as like recommended in my Amazon, and I was like, huh, I heard someone mention that one, so I put it in my wish list, and then when I literally cleared out my wish list, it just ended up being here. So I haven't read Caraval, so I don't know if I need to read that one first before I read this one. Let me know if you read this one. Evangeline Fox has always believed in true love and happy endings until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Oh, desperate to stop the wedding, Evangeline strikes a deal with a charismatic, immortal Prince of Hearts, but she soon discovers that bargaining with the Prince of Hearts is a dangerous game. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. Oh, so she tries to stop a marriage. Interesting. Interesting. It's gonna be fun to see where this book takes us. I'm gonna save a couple of books. I'm trying to rearrange next to me. I'm gonna save a couple of books towards the end that is not romance fantasy, but a totally different genre, because I want to do a read with me vlog where I try something totally different. So I'll save that towards the end. This was recommended to me by one of my subscribers when I was in Maine, and we had a retreat. Me and Samantha March had a retreat. Basically, we go on friends trips. If you want to read more about that, I do have travel vlogs here on this channel where you can see more about that if you're interested in like group travel with like discovering new friends. And one of the girls says that this was her favorite fantasy book, and this is R.F. Kuang. Am I saying that correctly? I'm so sorry if I'm not. The Poppy Wars. I don't know exactly where I was, but I think I was talking about the fact that I've heard so many people talk about this one, but when she said that this was her favorite, I was like, say less, I'm definitely gonna read it. I've heard that this one is more fantasy, political fantasy, than it is like romance, and I've heard that it's very heartbreaking. Oh, this is a review of the book. I have no doubt that this will end up being the best fantasy debut of the year. I have absolutely no doubt that Kuang will be up there with the likes of Robin Hobb and N.K. Jemisin. I love Robin Hobb. That is how, again, this could also be something that I could discover, like that I could talk more about in another video, but Robin Hobb is how I realized that fantasy can actually have women in them with talking parts, because I had read Tolkien and I was like, where's the women? Because if you've seen the movies, Lord of the Rings, you're like, what are you talking about? There are plenty of women in the movies. Yeah, not in the books. Not in the books. Robin Hobb really made me realize that women could be in books too, and even though they're definitely not as much, it's it was just so different from what Tolkien is. Tolkien is great, but it also can be very boring and a little stale stiff. So I'm very excited to read this one. I think that I'm gonna have to be in the mood for a book like this though. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, speaking of, here is Carla. I guess I bought it, okay? I guess I bought Caraval, Don't Come For Me. So I think this is young adult, and I think this is supposed to take place inside a once a year carnival, like something like that. Scarlet Dragna has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with her powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Carnival, the faraway once a year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. Okay, but this year Scarlet's long dreamt of invitation finally arrives. Okay, that's very interesting. That's I didn't know that there was like a forced marriage thing in here as well. I don't know if she goes through it, of course, but I've heard good things about this. This is young adult, so this is not going to be smutty. If that is something that you are more interested in, let me know if you would like to hear my thoughts about this one, because I mean the other young adult book that I read that was very hyped up, The Powerless, I did not like at all, so hopefully I'll like this one more. And then we have a book that I have read. This is The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. I heard so many people love this one, rave about this one, think that it's great. I think it's okay. This is entertaining. It does end in a way though that I had to read the second book, and the second book isn't good. If you end up reading this one and you want to know what happens with the cliffhanger that this one ends on, because it ends on a cliffhanger, just let me know. I'll tell you. You do not need to read the second book. For some reason I also read the third book, Misty, which is like a freestanding one. Both of those books, a waste of my time. They're not very good. The author has a way of being extremely repetitive in what she writes, and she also has a way of like saying the silent parts out loud in a way where you're like, listen, I got it. You did not need to print it out, and especially not once a page for 60 pages. Like, we get it, like okay. And also I think the magic system, although it is interesting, it is not flushed up enough, and this is more like pirate fae fantasy, but it's heavy on the romance. This is not plot driven, and that's why I'm gonna say I think this book might as well just have been a pirate romance. If you had stripped away all the magic from the series, I don't think much have changed. It didn't need to be a fantasy book, and I think that's the biggest problem with this book. Was I entertained? Yeah, I was. But I read this one right after Quicksilver. Let me just tell you, it's no Quicksilver. Now finally, let's talk about the 4 books that I have bought. I'm gonna do a full week of reading a special kind of book, and I'm gonna make that into a reading vlog. I don't know exactly when I'm doing that. I'm hoping December, fingers crossed, because I don't know if I'll have time in November, because quite honestly I'm very busy. Again, I have another YouTube channel that I work on full time. I also run a makeup indie brand, so I'm very busy around this time, like Black Friday, beginning of December. But I will do a reading vlog like that because I love watching other people do a full week of reading romance, a full week of reading whatever, and I am gonna do a full week of reading romance books, or like more chick lit books about influencers, because again, I am a full-time YouTuber. I've been working as a YouTuber since 2020, so I'm 4 years plus now, and I am so intrigued to see how authors write about like influencers, creators. I feel like I use like content creator and influencer interchangeably, but I know that people mostly prefer to say content creator. I would like to influence people's way of looking at beauty, not necessarily buying it. It is just different ways of seeing it. But I bought 4 books, and I mean, again, I read very quickly, and these are not as thick, and they're like romance, like chick lit romance. I'm gonna read these so quickly, and it's also going to be interesting to me to dive into something that I don't read a lot, which is contemporary romance. I don't read that at all. And if there's any other subjects or any other themes you would like me to have for a week like that, let me know. Maybe a full week of hockey romance, because I've not read a single one and I do not understand why they're popular. But this one is called Love comment, subscribe by Kathy Jardley. And this is a book actually about a beauty influencer, which again, I am a beauty content creator, and then it is about a YouTube gamer, and I am very excited to see how this love story is gonna unfold. And then there's a book that my friend Samantha March recommended to me. This is Amy Lee, The Catch. So this is actually book 3 in a series, but she said that they're freestanding, so there's no need for me really to be reading the other 2, and I want to read the one that she recommended because she says that this does talk about the whole thing with a creator sometimes is their ups and downs, and this is a creator not on the rise but on the way down, and she is tackling these thoughts of like, what am I gonna do when I no longer can be a creator? What am I gonna be? What is my next move gonna be? And these thoughts that come when you're no longer as popular as you used to be. Why doesn't anybody love me anymore? So I'm very excited to see how the author is tackling something like that. And then of course it is like she's going to a small town. It's like a small town romance, fisherman thingamabob, if I'm totally not mistaken. And then there is B.K. Borison, In the Weeds. This one was very interesting because it says Evelyn St. James isn't the kind of woman you forget. Beckett Porter certainly hasn't. One incredible weekend in Maine and he's officially a man distracted. So then the story continues as when she suddenly appears on his farm as part of a social media contest, he is confused. He had no idea that the sweet and sexy woman he met at a bar actually is a global phenomenon. Very excited about this one because this apparently like talks about a creator that's very much like in her prime, that's like popular. And then we have 10 Trends to Seduce Your Best Friend by Penny Reed. And this one, look, it's even like an iPhone on the back. It says, yes, they've known each other for years, but they're not even friendly. Winnie considers them more like a casual, distant acquaintances who find each other barely tolerable, especially when he's being condescending, which is all the time. Or maybe it's more an enemy to lovers. Although I would say it can't be enemy to lovers in a contemporary romance, like, because they can't, like, it's never gonna be, it's not that deep. Listen, it's not that deep. Yeah, you find him like barely tolerable, but he's not trying to kill you. So it's gonna be more I don't like him to maybe I actually do like him. So this one is that she's a public school teacher that has turned world famous best-selling fiction author and has built her community on social media. And it has a lot of things that are like relating into social media and the life online. So I'm excited to see what this is going to be about. Again, these 4 books, I'm gonna try and read them in 1 week and like take you along and give you, again, spoiler-free reviews as we go. And some of the things I wanted to look in is, first of all, could I appreciate contemporary romance? Is that another like category that I could add to my portfolio? Because as you can tell right now, I am very much in love with like fantasy and romance, but I don't want it to be too smutty. I actually skipped the smut. I just want to see people fall in love. But I also want to see, is the way that they talk about content creating and being a full-time content creator, is it being close to the truth? Because sometimes I have read books about content creators where I'm like, did you even talk to a content creator? Because they will talk about numbers and timelines and relationships and stuff where I'm like, that's not really how it works. And again, I'm not speaking for everyone because of course I only have my experience, but I do have a lot of friends who are content creators. So I also want to see like how close are they to the truth? Are they describing something that is, I don't want to say relatable, but for me, is it relatable for me? So I'm also excited to dive into that aspect of it. Please let me know which books you have read, if there's any that you think I should have bought. Is there any books that you think I should be buying? Listen, I'll put them on my wish list. I'll clear my wish list later on. And yes, I did buy quite a lot of books, but also I did read 13 books in 2 months. So just give me a little time and I'll be able to clear all of these. I did actually read 2 books I think I've mentioned the last 48 hours, and I started my 3rd book today, so I do read quite quickly, but I also realized that I did buy probably more books than I needed, but I was just so excited to be purchasing some books. I will probably dive into Metal Slinger first. That will probably be my first one, and I'm also very excited to dive into The Fear of the Flames. Again, if you're interested in any of these books, if you're like, what was she talking about? Everything will be down in the description box. If you want to see more book content and a couple of travel vlogs, also don't forget to subscribe because I will try and have at least 1 video a week. And I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon again. Bye!